I'm Jonathan Moore, and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is about the journey back to your truest self, the parts of you that already hold peace, love, joy, and purpose. You know, life has a way of convincing us that what we seek is always somewhere else, out there in a new job, a new city, or even a new relationship. But the truth I've discovered is that what we're really searching for is already within us. And that's what this show is all about. But the reason I'm so happy that you all are here and that I'm so happy to be connected to each of you is because in addition to you being brilliant, you also make me better in some regard just by knowing you. I've been blessed. And so thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for being a part of Return to More. So I had this elaborate program. Many of you know I am a planner, and I had this program planned and got slightly derailed, and that's totally fine. We got some good food and good drinks. But I did want to have just a brief conversation, just a collective conversation of why we return to more. And so I was hoping you all would join me. So there's an invitation that you join me in this conversation. It is recorded, but we're not live. So we'll be able to slice and dice if anything comes up that you're like, ooh, like pause and rewind. And so let me go around the room outside because obviously I'm introducing the connection to you all, and then there's some very special people. So first, there's Raj. You see him there with the glasses. Roger is my partner. And and so you know, it's been such a blessing having him in my life as well. And once again, I surround myself with people who make me better or cause me to be better in some way. And so I'm incredibly thankful to him, especially on a day like today, when so much has transpired. And then you have Colby over there. So Colby and I met through a mutual friend. And I was starting the podcast. I'm not the most adept at social media or publicity in terms of like marketing things. Like, you know, I can do the Facebook and the Insta, but I can't really do the TikTok. And and so Colby became a valuable partner in helping me to amplify this podcast. Outside of this, he is a publicist, consulting firm, political consultant, works with all the popular elected officials, doing all the good things and getting all the good people elected, depending on what you think. But I think all the good people elected. But once again, brilliant, has brought such talent and exposure to the podcast and helping me amplify it. And so I'm thankful to him. The gentleman behind the camera you see over there, that's Marcus. It's funny how things work. So when I started the podcast, I first encountered a dear friend of his, someone he used to work with, Molly. And Molly is the owner of Heartcast Media. So she's the one who actually produces the podcast. So if you've ever seen an episode and you see the visuals and the graphic and all of that, that's Molly and Heartcast Media. And obviously a tremendous blessing, and, you know, saw something for the podcast that I didn't see for myself. But it was through Molly that I met Marcus, because I live in this building, internet's not the most reliable, and I knew if I was going to do a podcast, I needed to have reliable internet. And so, so she's like, I was like, I can't do it in my place, but, you know, I don't have, you know, a fortune to spend on a studio. And she connected me with Marcus, and Marcus has been such a blessing. It's his studio where I record the podcast, where he gives me free reign to design, decorate. He has his own podcast. He's been in the game for years, and so he's giving me tips and inspiration and guidance and encouragement when I didn't think I could do certain things. And so thankful to him. And then what I hope is a new friend is Chef Rashad. So all the good food that we'll get to enjoy soon is courtesy of him. He's on Instagram, so check him out. Food is amazing. We'll get to partake shortly. And so that completes the gratitude circle, the circle of gratitude. So once again, welcome. So before we dive in, because we got a lot of good food that I need you all to eat all the way up and to finish all the drinks. So we're going to do an abbreviated conversation. I won't lead with sort of what transpired to cause the conversation to be abbreviated, because I'm going to focus more so on the fact that you all chose to come in the rain and spend this time with me and also together. And I'm going to stop before tear up again. Um, so I have 3 rounds of reflection questions, and if you'll indulge me, the invitation is simply I'll offer the prompt, and then whatever comes to mind, you can do 2 things. One, you can take a moment, well, 3 things. Take a moment, sit, and reflect. I'm also going to give you all a personalized journal in just a moment. So you're able to write, because some of us are not, we don't necessarily lead vocally, and so we'd rather write. But then I'm hoping if you feel led, that you may share out your reflection based on the prompt. And so, Roger, Colby, pass out notebooks for my friends. Thank you. Yeah, so one of the things I've really been reflecting on in this last like 30 minutes, so I apologize I kept you all waiting, was sometimes despite our best laid plans, um, things happen and they detour us. And one of the things I'm working on is, yeah, I know we all know, right? One of the things I'm working on is I consider myself a planner. I am a Virgo, like Beyonce and Michael Jackson. Um, and so I appreciate attention to details. And when things don't necessarily go according to plan, it really causes a sense of frustration and sadness within me. And I've been working really hard on focusing on what's ahead, because ultimately we can't change what happens behind us, but there's so much goodness. And so one of the things as I was tearing up downstairs, I kept thinking like, oh my God, I want you all to be here to enjoy yourselves, and I want to be in conversation with you all. And as I began to affirm that enough through my tears, I did stop crying, because I was like, I can't wait to get upstairs and like talk to the people who actually took time out of their day to like spend with me for, these precious minutes. So that's the lesson that if I can just drop before we get into the reflection, that when things derail you, it gets so easy. It can be so easy to get stuck in like what actually went wrong and the people surrounding what went wrong. But when you like open your eyes, you start to think like, oh my God, I have so much to look forward to. And for me, fortunately, it was in like the next 10 minutes. But yeah, so that connects to the PowerPoint. I'll tell you how sometime over context, but it does connect to the PowerPoint. It does connect to the PowerPoint. So 3 rounds of reflections, and these will be slightly brief because, like I said, I want us to eat, drink, and be merry. Um, but the first one is I want to talk about who you were, right? So when we think about the evolution of who we are today and the things that have shaped us to get us to where we are, whether in our personal lives or our professional life, we start to think about who we were compared to who we are now. So once again, food and drink we got to get to, but for that reflection prompt. So we were at who you were. So the prompt is one thing I used to believe about myself that no longer serves me. And so the invitation was you can either write, you can think about it, reflect, you can share it if you feel led to. And I'll kind of start as like a way to get the conversation going. But the prompt once again is one thing I used to believe about myself that no longer serves me. One thing I used to believe about myself that no longer serves me. And that's okay, because clearly I've been crying since I got up here. Sometimes it's better than a shot of bourbon. And these are yours to keep. I won't be collecting them at the end of not an AP exam. Yeah, not an AP exam. All blue books. Yeah, I need them. Time's up. Time's up. Oh. And so as people are reflecting and thinking, I'll just give a couple more minutes of silent space.
I literally just posted about this on my service day.
Ah. Would you like to share out? Or in a minute? Okay, yeah. So as people are reflecting, please feel free. Like I said, it's not a super controlled environment. It's not a time test. It's not an AP exam. So as you're reflecting, reflect. But we can invite conversation if you like to. Yeah.
So I can start. Greetings again. I'm greeting. Um, so I was telling Jonathan that I just kind of wrote about this on my Substack. So if you are on Substack, Dr. Brittany Williams, but basically, and this kind of goes back to our conversation that we had in Seattle, where being a black woman from the South, so I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been here about 4 years, and coming from humble beginnings, right? So I mean, like as micro system as like my neighborhood, right? Like I'm from the hood, you know, and going through a doctoral program is like the first person in my family to attain. So that process is very lonely, and then moving across the country. So I've never lived anywhere else outside of Louisiana. And when I first got here and I was introduced to the DC culture, I felt like I did not belong here. And I cried so much, like, Lord, why would you send me to this foreign land? I'm like, these people, they don't care about you. They don't care about nothing. like this is a horrible place and I don't belong here because I felt I did not feel welcome by the spaces that I inhabited. And being a policy professional, and specifically now working in assessment and accountability, I have not yet found a black person that does the same work on the K-12 side as I have. And please, I welcome it. Sister, we gotta talk.
Yeah.
And over the last 4 years, I've been doing the work to meet people that affirm the fact that no, girl, you do belong here. Your voice matters, and in fact, it is a pleasant welcome into these spaces. And so I talked about that a little bit, just coming from the South through my doctoral program. I'm a mother. I was a parenting student, so I had my son very young, and so just I did my doc program, like working full time. I didn't stop when we moved across the country, and so I did not want to stay. I was like, we could go back to Louisiana tomorrow, right? Especially after the first snow on the ground. I was like,
you got to return to the map with that snow. You got to come back.
I'm like, people are mean and it's snowing outside. Like, it gets to a point, y'all. And I was like, and that point is now. But I have been able to meet people and people, right, that really just affirm, like, no, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate your voice. We appreciate the bit of ruckus that you cause, right, in the spaces that you inhabit. And so that notion of me not belonging here, right, like that, it just no longer serves me.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, please.
I'm just kind of like piggybacking off of what she said. I got rid of the notion. Jonathan, he knows my trauma from my childhood, we spoke of, and what I just been through. That was very, very traumatic. But in that, I always thought that no one chose me. And I was okay with it because I was like, I chose myself, you know, and I have a great life. I got pretty far on my own. But going through what I just been through, make it real quick, I was about to be engaged. My man had a baby on me and left me. Mm-hmm. We could, but
loser.
Yeah.
Who was we? We being me. Okay,
yes.
okay.
But going through that let me realize that so many people showed up for me. Mm-hmm. Right. And my clients, my friends, and I was like, I changed my perspective, one, because I had to think about it. I've been saying no one has chose me, but I built a hell of a life doing hair. And people choose me every week to spend money on me. So,
yes.
You know,
yes.
With going through what I've been through, and in that I took a manifestation class. And in the manifestation class, it wasn't just teaching you how to manifest, it was teaching you to get rid of those subconscious blockers. You know, so those subconscious blockers, you can tell the universe that, hey, I want to be rich, but if you think you want to be poor all the time, or you know, and even like with my ex, I thought he was going to leave me. I had in my head, no one ever chooses me. So I kind of, you know, so changing my perspective now, I know that doesn't serve me. I know I am choosing. And then I find solace in that I choose myself. But not only that, like people choose me every day. And I find different ways now that I see people choose me. You know, just Jonathan coming here for me, you know, I mean, coming to my birthday event, you know, and people have, you know, supported me in so many ways. I got so many flowers. I had clients that just said, one of my clients, I didn't know what to do. I just went over her house and was sat on her floor and cried. This is a client, you know. So just changing my perspective, but not only changing my perspective about choosing me, just everything, you know, learning to shift when you have it, and I'm not gonna act like everything's all roses all the time, but still learning to shift and learning to have gratitude in everything, even if it's just a lesson. The lesson stop, you know, it's hard to tell someone not to sit in your trauma or your troubles when you're feeling hurt, you know. I'm lucky, I'm not that person to do that, but, you know, you have to shift your perspective, you know, even if it's just saying, you know what, the lesson is, I didn't think I could love like that. Okay, I can love, so now I'm gonna love the next man harder. You know, I didn't think I could run a business. I have ADHD. It's been 6 years. I don't know how I did it. I'm winging it, you know.
You're doing more than winging it.
Right.
It's hard, you know, that's the thing. I didn't go to college, you know, my clients are all, you know, doctors, lawyers, you know, and I never felt,
choosing you, right?
and I never felt like I didn't fit in.
No, baby, you ain't got none of that college there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this.
You're the real businesswoman.
Right.
So in hindsight, choosing yourself is even like choosing to shift your perspective and not letting those negative thoughts creep in, because they will consume you. And then sometimes you have to have a conversation with yourself, get out of that shit. You're a bad motherfucker, you're a bad dude, you're a bad chick, you know. You gotta check yourself sometimes. So that's all I want to share.
Lord, me and my split ends sat next to a hairdresser.
I just see your beautiful face. I don't see nothing.
But here's my card.
All these people, all these beautiful people. I don't care about your hair beautiful. I just care that we gonna connect and be friends. You know.
Because you both have never met strangers. So then the next reflection, once again, we can come back, but once again, very open. You know, this isn't a exam per se, even though I am taking notes. So who you are. So right now, I'm learning to. Right now, I'm learning to. And Dean, you see, people have their journals. Some people prefer to reflect in writing. Some just prefer to reflect in their mind. Some people prefer to reflect out loud. Whatever floats your boat in this moment. So right now, I'm learning to. Right now, I'm learning to. Dive in.
Okay, I said I wasn't gonna say anything. Let me tell you what I am learning to, and I just hope everybody takes it to be patient with yourself. Because DC and women, and Black women in particular, we are so driven. We are so.
It's evidenced by the ones in the room.
We want results right away. We're doing all the things. And sometimes when they don't plan out that way, with myself, I get so frustrated. I'm like, what? Why am I not a millionaire yet? I wasn't one with 4 chairs. So, showing yourself grace. Showing myself grace and having gratitude for what I have. And being patient with myself, like that is hard for me, you know, because I've gotten so far and attained the things that I've attained, just going after everything and saying I want this, but it's like now I've gotten to a place where I want things such on a grand scheme, like you ain't getting it that fast. This ain't just, oh, I want to go to this place. Like now the things I want to buy a building and these things. It's like, you got to take your time, girl. So be patient with yourself. Show yourself grace and find gratitude in everything that you have at the moment too. So one thing I try to do every day before I get out of bed, I actually sleep in my journal and I write 5 things I'm gratitude. I have gratitude for before I step out the bed. And it really does something for my day. So I'm not gonna speak more, but I just say that because I just know as women we always like, I want it now. And we're so hard on ourselves. So being patient with myself.
And I don't think it's just women. What you said resonated. It was also something Brittany said. But going back to the last prompt, I didn't share out. But one of the things that are connected is I felt like I had reached my potential. And so those of you who know me in different parts of my life know that I had a pretty accelerated career trajectory early on. And so, what do you do when like, oh, promotion after promotion after promotion after promotion after promotion, and then you get to a place and you're like, oh gosh, like, wow, I like what I do, but like no one will even interview me for like anything beyond what I feel like I should be doing. And so then that tension, right, about like, yes, you've attained everything and it may have come at what could be perceived as lightning speed and you want more, but what do you do while you're like waiting? Whether it's the universe, whether it's God, but what do you do when you're stuck waiting? And how do you handle that? Yeah. And so then that also connects to the first one where like, I no longer feel like I've reached my potential. I'm still growing and I have a lot more to do. But back to the second prompt. Right now, I'm learning too.
I'll go. I think kind of piggybacking off of what Kenny and you just said, Jonathan. I'm learning to live in the moment, especially being a new mom. Congratulations. 7 weeks tomorrow.
I know, don't even look at it. She don't even look at it.
Right before I'm gonna have to, go back to nurse again. But no, I didn't. Couldn't miss this.
Well, thank you.
But just live in the moment, and so like I always hear like with kids that grow up so fast and like all this and that, and like it took this is a story for another time, but it took my husband and I we had a fertility journey. Okay, it was a journey. So we're just so grateful for this moment. Talking about planning, right? Virgo is about my husband's also a Virgo, so like when I tell you things, plan. All right, I'm gonna get married at this age. We're gonna have kids at this age. We're gonna move here at this age. Like like everything like that, and God was just laughing.
Yes,
as
he does.
When we make plans, and so definitely grateful for this moment. But every time I just like look at my baby and I'm just like, whether I'm just like burping him or nursing him or changing his diaper, I'm like trying to live. Like the amount of pictures that I have on my phone, I'm like every single moment. It's like I know I'm not gonna miss like these times. I'm really just trying to live in the moment. We talk about like careers, like when I was in Nevada, right? So like I was, at a pretty, decent leadership role at a pretty young age. And then when my supervisor left, applied for that role, got that role. And so just always always wanted to just be go on the up and up. Okay, like what can I do next? And like all of that, right? And it comes from both having my parents are immigrants, raised by a single mother, right? So there's that. Also very humble beginnings. Single mother, right? Like grew up very, very poor. And so I was like, okay, like what's the next thing? What's the next thing like in my career as well? And so like now, right, I'm at a point where like, I'm no longer managing people. It's a beautiful thing. I'm just kind of like, in my, I love my work, but it's just like, all right, let me just live in the moment of my job, my, just family situation, just whatever. I'm just trying to really just take in and not think about what is next, but trying to give myself patience and grace and, understanding that wow, look how far you've come, just being very happy with myself, my accomplishments, and not, thinking that okay, I have to race to this next thing. The next thing will, come when it will come. So yeah, just living, I'm going to live in the moment.
I'd like to share next.
Yeah.
I guess I'm really learning that I don't have to be the best version of myself to show up. I think for a long time, and at least this past year, I've gone through this whole mental health journey and really understanding a little bit myself, especially in the context of being in a new city, being in a relationship, being with new friends, meeting people all the time. Um, and I realized that at my worst moments were the moments where I was isolating myself, where I didn't want to be seen by anyone. Um, and it's probably contributing being DC. Everyone's on top of their game. Everyone's smart.
Right.
It's smart to me, right? Or if like they pretend really well and I can't pretend and it's exhausting and I can't do it anymore. Speaking about living in the moment, I was thinking like I can't do this for 40 more years. Like I'm 26, I have to do this for like until I'm 80, God willing. Like I can't, right? And so I think I'm learning that like I'm worthy to be in places whether I'm sad and depressed, I'm not doing great at work, doesn't define my whole career. One bad day, one comment from a supervisor is fine, or maybe not fine, but it's not a reflection of who I am as a person. And I think I'm learning what that looks like socially. I think in theory, I know it's like what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know what that looks like in practice just yet. And I'm still trying to learn what, even like in moments like these, where it's like, sure, if today I didn't have a great day, I still want to be here. But what does that mean for you all to see who I truly am and connect? Because I think I was finding that if I only show up when I'm the best person, well, I'm not connecting with the people around me, my relationships, and the new people that I meet because I don't know who I am. And I'm hiding that part that, you truly might have connected with, right? But yeah, I think I'm really learning that part. And I think seeing people like you all who are able to kind of dig deep into who you are and you show that isn't uplifting, at least for someone.
Can I share?
No, you can't.
It's a little, it's kind of a joke. So it's a joke, but I have to say it because I almost left. So Ezekiel, you just affirmed something for me, and you don't even know that I needed it in the moment. So I had not met any of you before, so I only knew the host. And so coming into spaces where you don't really know anybody, it gives me a little bit of anxiety. And so at first I was like, I'm about to make up something and tell Jonathan I'm not going. But I'm learning to live in the moment. I'm trying to do better about showing up in spaces because I too choose when Jonathan and I met, I was sitting by myself because I didn't want to talk to anyone.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Jonathan came over and he was the only other black person in the space. And so I said hi. And then he continued the conversation. And I said,
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
I am learning how to show up in spaces. But y'all, so I had a little bit of contact dermatitis above my eyebrows, and I was like, I'm not showing these people. They're gonna look at me and think, "Ooh, this girl came here looking crazy." I was like, I'm not about to show up with itchy eyebrows. And listen, I'm glad I did. I'm so happy that I did. Even if this wasn't my best self, I was like, Lord, the sun isn't out. I can't even put my glasses on.
I'm like,
I always wear it.
Didn't even know.
And I forgot about that. So she was sitting by herself, and many of you know when I'm a loner, but obviously I am social as evidenced by you all, but when I like my alone time, I like my alone time. So she was sitting by herself. So I remember as you say that, I was like, hi, and then I even think I said, I see you're sitting there. Can I just sit here? And like I don't want to talk. Like, we don't even gotta talk. We don't gotta talk. We ain't gotta interact. But I see over there. I just want the chair. And this part of the table right here. And so she invited me, and then obviously the rest is now becoming history. But yeah, I forgot all about that.
Thank you both.
Of course.
So I got two things. Right now, I'm learning to not solve problems that are not mine to solve. I've watched so many of my friends, mainly my female friends, somebody calls with a problem. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the problem is. We just launch into immediate action. I don't even know anything about bone density, but girl, I'm a researcher. And I just realized it was when I'm watching it, my older aunts who do this now have all these health problems. But I have one aunt who's days trying to solve problems that are not hers. And I thought, I don't want to have a heart attack at 65 because you have taken on the weight of somebody else's world. And then I'm looking at some of my own friends going through like the same thing. And not only that, I'm like, sometimes people just want you to listen to them. So I'm learning how, if it's not my part, if you don't ask me to help you solve it, I'm learning to be like, I will just listen and try to be a good friend. And the other thing that I'm learning is to trust that yesterday's Maya made smart and great decisions for today's Maya. So I have to, I'm trusting that I'm not a dummy today. I probably wasn't a dummy yesterday. So the decisions I made in my 20s and in my 30s were good decisions.
Yeah. Helped inform who you are.
But I'm great anyway, so.
Yes, yes. So listen, typically, you know, former teacher, a couple of us are. And so because lesson plan was slightly derailed, we got some great food and great drink. I had planned to continue the conversation, but I don't want to keep you all waiting. And Chef Rashad has been gracious. I can't wait for you to try his food. He's on Instagram also. And so I want to invite us to, you know, take a moment, more than a moment, but we're going to grab food, we're going to grab some drink, we're going to sit and talk, and we may come back into sort of this type of conversation, or we may just continue interacting as the wonderful human beings we are. But dinner is served.
Thank you.
Yeah.